People of podcast land, it's Ash Grunwald here, and you are in for a treat today because I am interviewing none other than Josh Teskey of the Teskey Brothers. Every time we meet, I feel very grateful to have been spending some time jamming with this guy who I actually believe to be one of the greatest blues and soul singers to ever come out of Australia. And certainly he's the main guy that made me stand up and listen when somebody was like, hey, you should check this out. I was like, what the hell? He's just got a voice, very similar to Otis Redding, just absolutely amazing. And as I've found out lately, he is a phenomenal blues singer and just absolutely amazing and a really good guy. And we actually ended up having a jam. I just remembered when I was editing this podcast and I got to the end, I was like, we actually had a little jam at the very end, and we did a song that I had written recently. It's a hardcore blues one, so I encourage you to stick around to the end. It's definitely going to be worth it. It's funny how the world works. I was just lucky enough to get the Teskey Brothers on my latest single, and Josh and I ended up jamming while he was being in the film clip for me, and then that just went viral on the internet, and we ended up jamming a whole lot more. And I ended up getting this podcast, and I'm just so glad, and I really got, I got a chance to get an insight into our actual shared history, but also a lot of good things, really original perspectives that Josh has. He's just, a Steiner educated kind of, I guess, guy with a little bit of earthy hippie vibes, but he's a tradie. And he has a deep love of being a tradie, and he loves to get back to that. And so for him, music was an escape from a day job, like it was for me and a lot of people. But he really has a very balanced view of the world. And I found that to be, among other things, really unique. And unique to see how a guy who has been working a day job for a long time, when they've taken off in the last couple of years and now they're playing the most amazing shows all over the world. But just to see that, he still appreciates that he's actually missing the balance of what he had in working a day job. So just a really original thinker, Josh Teskey, and I know you're going to love this edition of Soulful Conversations. In this podcast, we interview inspiring and amazing people, musicians, surfers, and experts in mindset, creativity, health, well-being, and making the world a better place. I'm tired of beating around the bush. I want to go deep and have a soulful conversation.
This podcast is brought to you by Earth Bottles. At Earth Bottles, we are on a mission to end single-use plastics, offering a full range of beautiful double-insulated bottles, reusable coffee cups, food and tea canisters, stainless steel straws, bags, and lots of plastic-free eco-goodies. Earth Bottles proudly supports the Breast Cancer Network of Australia, Beyond Blue, Hope for Health, Clean Coast Collective, 15 Trees, Bali Baby House, and the UN Refugee Agency. So head over to www.earthbottles.com.au for a 10% discount using the promo code ASHLOVESME. Together we can make a change and break up with single-use plastics.
We're on Soulful Conversations here with Josh Teskey, legend.
Yeah, good to be here, Ash. Man.
Well, we can't really say too much, but we've just had a wonderful jam this week, haven't we?
We've been playing a lot of music together. That's all we've been
playing a lot of music.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Dude, it's been awesome. It's been
amazing,
so
man.
good.
It's been absolutely awesome. Yeah. Been really fun getting back to some blues with you, actually, So as some people may know about, about myself and Sam and the rest of the band, we really started out playing blues and busking playing blues, playing, steel guitars. We didn't actually have a dobro like yours, or a national, or a national. I'm pointing at the guitar.
They're
there.
expensive, these things.
Yeah, but we had a copy version, but we, that was like we, playing harmonica, steel guitars, and that was our jam. And then we kind of moved into the soul world a little bit more. So it's been really fun jamming with Ash here, and playing some of where we started out, which I love. I love this music.
Well, we're from a similar kind of area because I lived out this way, and it's funny. My first Soulful Conversations episode was with John Butler, and when we turned off the podcast, we were talking about the first time we met, and it was actually the day I met my wife, Danny, the first time I met her, and her mum actually had the prophecy that we were going to get married, even though we are...
I love that.
She
That's
just
great,
walked in the room.
Yeah. Just went,
You're going to marry that guy.
Yeah.
Which was so weird and funny. We always talk about it. But also that's the day I met John Butler for the first time, which I already knew him. And it was at the St Andrews pub. And
of course.
I used to play on the Saturday at the pub, and you used to play at the markets when you were about
we used to
10.
busk at the markets, yeah. And I should probably mention this as well. So probably while Ash is playing at the St Andrews pub, I think we worked out we're 10 years apart, So Ash, you're 42?
Yeah, yep.
I'm 31, so 11 years. So you would have been there kind of in your mid-20s, I think, playing in the pub. Yeah. So I was 14 years old, busking over at the market.
Yeah.
But the good thing about the St Andrews pub is they were pretty. I probably shouldn't, So back in the day, it was they used to be, used to be able to go in when I used to go in with Dad, and we'd always be able to go over there. So we were watching as 14-year-olds. We were watching Ash do his thing over at the pub, and we used to watch people like Chris Wilson and Jeff Atchison.
Yeah.
Also I was Sam Linton Smith, who was a real mentor of mine. I don't know if you know Sam, like a band called Black Cat Bone. They used to play him.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Sam's
they were on Hey Hey Saturday back in the day. I think that was it.
Yeah. I think they originally used to be called. So the band back in the day was called the Honey Drippers.
Yeah.
So the Honey Drippers were the
And I remember Sam now too. Yeah, I do remember
this
Sam.
incredible. He's been a real blues mentor of ours for forever. So, I mean, he was we went to the Steiner School in Warrenwood out here. Obviously, so he is a music teacher and drama teacher at the school, but he's also a working kind of blues musician. So very early on, he really he showed me all my first moves on the harmonica, and he showed us all our first kind of blues riffs and things like that. So he was kind of really. He's, thank you, Sam. If you listen to this, I actually just got a message from him before asking me if I could do some plumbing up at his house. He lives up at St Andrews. But,
legend, Sam.
He's a legend. He's an absolute legend, and he really shaped a lot of the way for the Teskey Brothers and ourselves. So he really kind of, he kind of put us in that direction of the blues. He was like, as a band, we were all sort of sitting together and. Back at, we're talking when we're like 13, 14 as kids, he's showing us our first kind of, all right, here's how you do, like, this is green onions, this is like, whatever, so we're having a bit of a jam on this stuff. So these are the characters that, we're playing around here, I guess. And you were one of them, so this was,
it's so cool for
these
me.
People it's kind of funny, isn't it, and then we just had this realization, just the other day when we were talking about it. I don't think you realized that we sort of, had, I just saw how much we'd sort of followed you around over the years and how much, I guess it was, I guess it's just that age gap. It's a different thing. And then, I had to remind Ash that we played, we supported him one time at a gig, way back, when we would have been 17 or something. And it was something in Melbourne. There was a few bands playing, so I didn't expect you to remember.
But that was I had the same thing with Ziggy Alberts last week as well. Mm-hmm. But that is, for me, that's really good. Like I'm just sort of coming out of a time of dealing with the shit things of getting older and going into your 40s and stuff. But one of the really great things is like, so when I got you to be on my single, I was stoked. I'm like, these guys are, I look up to you guys, these guys are young. And then to find that you guys checked me out when you were younger and whatever, to me, it's a bit like, I mean, people listening probably don't know what publishing is, but in music, publishing is when you get one of your songs on a movie or something. And so publishing is really great because a lot of the time you might get this big check, but you recorded the song ages ago. And this is a bit like publishing for me because, like, I did the gig 20 years ago.
That's in the past.
But it's like you get this cool thing later of it that, you know, that some cats checked it out or whatever. And then, you know, just to see how well you guys have gone. And then you guys have, you know, massively blown up. So, like, you've played the Forum in Melbourne and stuff like that?
Yeah, we did. That was amazing to do, you know. It was incredible. That was a real milestone, you know. You hit that is. That's really incredible, you know. You played that thing and you get in that band room and there's like just you see all the names of people that were playing and, you know, everyone like there's this wall for you know, if people haven't been in the band room at the Forum, there's a wall in there that has all, like, everyone kind of scribbles on it, you know, and has, like, you know, they do all their signatures, so you just, and then you can sign your name next to this, and there's some really funny people have kind of signed their names over other people, and, you know, I think I remember a really funny one where I saw Dan Sultan has written his name really, really, really big across, like, the massive on the bottom of it, of this thing, and then Tash Sultana's done something where she's gone, somehow she's changed I don't know how, I can't think of the spelling, you know, Dan Sultan. So she's put the Sultana, changed name and just put this tiny little Tash before it, you know what I mean? So taking the, you know, little thing like that. So this is funny little things that are going on. But yeah, sorry.
It's cool to join into that.
That was a big, you know, that's a big moment. That's what we've been doing, I guess. Yeah. So
and you're going to be touring the US with Tash. That's going to be massive, man. And you're playing Red Rocks.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I don't know if we've announced it yet, so we have to. But I mean, that's going to be. Maybe it's going to be.
You may end up playing Red Rocks.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's going to be incredible.
When this podcast
if it is already announced, which I think it might be, the tour might be announced anyway. So supposing it is, you can probably cut and, you know,
it's probably sold out, so it doesn't really matter.
So amazing. But yeah, that is an incredible thing. So doing a US tour with Tash Sultana and playing Red Rocks in Colorado, for anyone who hasn't been there, that is like this incredible stadium in kind of in the mountains in Colorado there, in this kind of desert, these huge big red rocks. It's this beautiful venue. We went there to sort of to watch a gig when we were in Colorado last time with the band, and it was kind of like, wow, this would be an amazing thing to play here.
When are we going to play this, boys?
Yeah, so on the back of Tash, we'll be playing that one, which is incredible. You know,
you'll be playing it yourselves, I'm sure, dude.
Maybe one day.
So you got a big American tour lined up?
That's right. Yeah. So one with so we're doing one of our own soon, you know, which we have announced that actually. So that's all out and going ahead. So we're doing that in, you know, May 2019 is where we are for everyone. So, you know,
and what are the big festivals that you're going to play on that?
There's Bonnaroo Festival.
Yeah.
There's Firefly Festival, and there's some other ones that I can't remember. But those are the two sort of standout ones that we're really excited about. You know,
that's going to be really cool. So, one thing I like to, if you listen to the intro to this podcast, I say, which I might have to change because it's starting to annoy me. I'm going to go deep. I want to go deep. But I like to go deep on this and talk about, what do I talk about? Mindset, spiritual matters, matters of everyday happiness. So one thing I'd like to ask you is a bit of a deep one, but like I'm sure that you've gone better and had more success than you could have ever imagined thus far. Well, first let me ask you, does your level of success that you've had surprise you? Are you pinching yourself or?
Completely. You know, it's kind of like, I think a lot of musicians would, you know, have this same kind of feeling of never, you know, it's not like we were ever really searching for it, especially in us. You know, we're a band that have been, you know, here doing our thing for 10 years, you know, out here in this area where we are now in Warrandyte, you know, playing in Melbourne, and we were really content just chugging along doing what we're doing. And, you know, we're all working our day jobs and we're playing gigs on the weekends. And I've always famously said, that's my perfect mix, you know, to do that. I love, I'm a plumber by trade, so I was working doing my plumbing. And then every weekend we've been gigging for the last 10 years. You know, we'd always just playing wherever it might be, you know, St Andrew's Pub. We're talking about that a lot, but also all around the place, you know, the Rainbow Hotel in Fitzroy and whatever, thing came our way, and weddings, bloody gigs at parties.
But pretty locally, not touring that much.
No, we never really live in Victoria. We just always like staying around here. That was our thing. We never left Victoria for most of our, for the last, until like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, literally, we just played out here, and I was really, really content in doing that. And it wasn't like we were ever searching for this like song that's gonna like make us break it, or we're kind of like as some people might think with music, it's kind of you're just always striving to kind of finally have that hit, or to have that moment where it takes off. Where I don't think we ever thought in that way. We were just really content doing what we were doing, and then we all happened to come in here and make this album. I guess I should point out we are actually in Half Mile Harvest Studios right now.
Beautiful, rustic. Exactly. If you're from Victoria, you'd know Warrandyte, but for other people around the world, it's a beautiful place in Victoria, really bushy, a lot of alternative people, and then a lot of rich houses and stuff, nice places as well.
It's becoming,
bit of
what
a
do they
mix.
call it? It is gentrification.
But it has a very soulful background.
It does, a real artistic background out here,
And this is a very
so we're in the studio now, and we all came in here as a band, the four of us, which is me, my brother Sam, Liam Goff on the drums, and Brendan Love on the bass guitar. So the four of us came in here, and we kind of did this album just for the fun of it. We recorded everything to tape, and to this big old tape machine we have out here, which we can talk about more. And it's
Jimmy Barnes's old tape machine.
It weighs something like 600 kilos, and we brought it down from Sydney, and that was actually part of the reason we recorded this album too, I should point out. So it was kind of, Sam had this tape machine, and he was excited to do something with it, so we thought, hey, let's record an album like they recorded albums in the 70s, and this is sort of like, let's just do this old school album. And we did it for the fun of it, and we literally brought in physically a couple of CDs and some records to some of the shows in PBS and Triple R here in Melbourne. And it actually just, it had a place. We didn't ever realize, but this old school kind of really sound started, gaining some momentum. And we had no management, we had no representation. It was just us kind of just doing our thing, and then we didn't know what to do with it. It was just kind of like, wow, it started really, moving, and it was never a choice we made. Then, like, within those next 6 months, it was kind of like we started getting more offers for gigs than we'd ever had before. People were coming to gigs, and we had started doing venues that we'd never, bigger venues that we hadn't played before, and people were turning up, and people were following the music, and with the internet these days, and the internet, in this whole digital realm, it started moving really quickly, and then suddenly, we had some incredible people come in and give us a hand on the management side of things, and on the in the kind of the music industry side, and we started learning a lot about this world, but it was never like we made a and then suddenly it was a full-time job. So now it's like we're all musicians, and we're touring musicians, and it was never like a moment where you go, all right, I want to give up my job, and I'm going to start being just a musician full time. And it's sort of said, and then it's like this decision that's thrust upon you because you're given this opportunity, and then you have no choice but to take it. So it's this kind of like, and then suddenly you're doing it, and it was like, and then before you know it, it's like, wow, we're kind of, where was the choice in this? It's kind of, you have to, suddenly it's like, we're since that moment when we were only, maybe 2 years in since that kind of happened. So we're still really fresh, and we're still learning about this new job. So it's this new job that we're doing now, which is, which I'm sure you've spoken about some of the other podcasts, can be, is really different from the other world I was working in before. And we're just trying to, work through it and, learn about this crazy new world that we're in. So it's sort of, but like I say, it's thrust upon you. So it's kind of like, as you pointed out, did you expect to, ever have this happen? It's like, no. And then suddenly we're in it, and when people ask me, people who don't know, if you just meet you for the first time, when with my partner and we're at a party, so what do you do, Josh? And I go, I guess I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter. And it sounds really like funny because you say to people, you go, Yeah, and so people think of you. Oh, right. So, but what's your real job? You know, but you do have anything else you do. But we just like that suddenly it's a job, and it feels strange to say that. I'm still not used to saying it. It's sort of when you write on a on a report card, on a card when you're leaving the country, what's your occupation?
Musician.
You're right, musician. It seems
love
really
writing
weird.
that.
It's really funny, isn't it? Yeah. Or sometimes I like writing like composer, or you sound a little bit more like a bit more fancy,
cultural.
Yeah.
I love writing that music. It was always, I'm totally different. It was my ambition to be a musician. Sort of late, because I became a school teacher before, and I actually wanted to be a script writer when I went to uni and stuff. But then it was my ambition to not work a day job. And so I really wanted to be a professional musician. Not to be famous, though. I just wanted to. It was actually when I was living here, I turned professional in this area because I could just play in restaurants, play here, play there. I was living in my grandparents' bungalow in Wonga Park.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Great spot.
So I achieved my dream really early of being a professional musician, but I wasn't even known yet. And then everything built from there. So, yeah, that's totally different because you weren't even trying to make it, essentially. So that's really interesting. What I find interesting about that is you weren't pressured on the career. You didn't, it seems like you guys didn't put any energy into the other things that are just a pain in the ass in being a musician, like things other than the music. So your focus was, and that's what you can hear in your music, was very much on the music the whole time because you're just working a day job and you were happy with that.
Completely, yeah, And I always used to say I love the mix, I love the mix of the two worlds for me. I mean, that was like, plumbing on one side during the day, going and doing this, this other art, this kind of like, this craft that I've been working on for 10 years, and I've been doing that for 10 years, and I love it, and I've got a lot of respect for, tradies and plumbers, and the plumbing trade for me is just a beautiful trade, and I loved the mix of the two sides of my mind, which we were speaking about, the other day. It's just like kind of this sort of practical head, and then and your artistic sort of head, where you're sort of, and I think I really love the mixture of it, and so with the, with the plumbing side of things, it was like, you're working during the day, you're getting this sort of physical thing out, you're getting this this whole other side of your world working, and then to come and sort of make some music as well is a really, really good mix. So what I miss now when you're on the road or in the studio, it can be like, you're in a band room if you're on tour, you're in a band room every night, and you're in an old pub, and you're playing during the evenings, and then you're sleeping during the day, or you're getting up, or you're traveling, and then you're doing that night after night. And I miss I miss using, getting physical, and I have to find ways to kind of have these outlets of this physical side this physical energy I have, and this practical side of my brain that I need to let loose.
Wow. That's really interesting. So when you're a tradie, and I'm not sure, maybe it was because of your Steiner education, I don't know, but like it's a really refreshing thing to hear a tradie, because I grew up around my dad's a builder. I grew up on building sites.
Of course.
And I did every different
myself
trade.
As well. My dad's
But one thing I decided is I never wanted to be a tradie.
Interesting.
And it's just maybe a natural laziness. I just didn't want to physically work hard. Maybe that was it. But it's funny. I'm not a lazy person, but I wonder I'm thinking that Steinery, more arty education gave you just a different outlook on life, and so you're able to appreciate it because, like I imagine, but maybe your experience is different in the trades and stuff. I've always thought the irony is I reckon most tradies do love their job, but it's like pretty common for people to just whinge about the fact that they have to work. Yeah,
and I think a lot of tradespeople and craftsmen and craftspeople, they're just sort of everybody, I think, deep down loves their craft and loves some of the what comes with this, with some of these trades is incredible. Like, stuff that you can't read about, you can't learn about this in a book. There's a lot of this stuff is like, like that craft is passed down from, apprentice to plumber in my thing, or apprentice to carpenter. It's kind of, and it's like, it's just that what happens, it's like storytelling. It's like taught from person to person, and you have to like. I love these, and it's like a secret society sometimes. I like you learn these kind of like these crafts, and you go, this is like everybody often does it a pretty similar way, and it's this kind of I loved that about it, learning about this thing that no one else can do, and you can it's this and I think a lot of tradies don't realize how much they love it, or maybe they don't admit that they love it. But I think a lot of people really dig that world. I really dig that world.
That's a really original perspective. I've never heard it put like that, and it's really. I know what you mean. It's really cool.
It's not. You can't read about it. You can't learn this stuff from a book. You have to go out and you have to spend years doing it, and you learn your craft. It's an amazing real world, and it's a real kind of. For me, it's like meditation when I get into like doing that kind of practical work. It's like a really. So it's really important to me, and I was saying, and I still plumb to this day, so every chance I get out and do a little plumbing job here and there, and work for some friends, and working for my old boss every now and again, and it sets my mind on track. And I was saying to you the other day, Ash, that we were jamming on this tune, very secretly. I have to cut some of this stuff out, but I come back from doing a day's physical work and a day's, using that side of my brain. I came home and I wrote a song, you know what I mean? Like straight away. So as soon as I've like let out all this, because I'm a really energetic person, and I'm sort of need to find ways to sort of let this physical side of me out one way or another. And if I'm not doing it, it doesn't, I try to find something else to do. I don't want to sit down and start trying to, write a song, or start trying to, sit on the guitar. All I want to do is kind of, so if we're touring or we're playing music live, all I want to do is, be walking or running or, going to the gym, or just kind of like trying to find ways to kind of like exert some physical energy. Whereas when I come back from doing a day's work, that seems to be the time when I can set my mind to making some music, and weirdly enough, the two sort of go hand in hand with me.
Oh, that was really interesting, and that's what I got from John Butler as well. He said going for a run, he needs to go for a run to chase the crazy man away.
I love that. That's great, whatever you want to call it,
I've never thought of it this way, that like what John was saying is he still feels young in his body, and he's got that natural urge to hunt or do something physical that's passed down through the ages. It's in his body. And if he doesn't do those things, you would think that you bottle it up and you save some creativity for later or something, but it just doesn't work that way. And same with you. You need to use your body to free your mind, really.
It goes hand in hand, and a lot of people have it. We were working out here with a producer just recently on our next album that we're working on here in the studio. And we had this incredible producer we're working with. And he's exactly the same. He had this thing where incredible mind for music, and this sort of like, but he would every morning, so we could only start at around about 10 a.m. because maybe we start at 9 sometimes, but he said he had 2-hour routine he had to do every day before he'd get into any work,
Wow.
And we're working, 7 days a week for, 14-hour days kind of thing here in the studio. So it's a lot of energy to put into your music. But so he's sort of, and he's going, so he'd go for, he'd do an hour of meditation. And
wow.
Then he'd do and then he'd go for an hour of physical exercise.
Wow.
And then,
legend.
Then he'd start doing music.
That's classic.
Which is incredible. And he's very calm, amazing mind to have around, especially when you're in a band, to have this sort of like, as a producer, to have someone in here just goes like, straight down the line, and really kind of, really focused, really, really always a really calm energy about him. And that, I think he says that's his way of chasing the crazy man away, the crazy man or woman away. And they're kind of, and it's, so that, I guess that, and he was saying if he doesn't do that, that's sort of like he's, that's his jam. So everyone's got their thing, I guess.
Geez, it comes up a lot, meditation, like, every person I interview, I'm always looking at podcasts on and reading books and getting on YouTube and looking about ways to sort of optimize mind, body and spirit and whatever. I've always been a bit like that, but it's definitely been my trip more lately. Geez, meditation comes up a lot, a hell of a lot. Are you into meditation or?
I'm not. I've got a manic mind, and I find I'm the kind of I probably need it really more. I think maybe in the next few years, maybe I'll find ways to move into that. But I'm the kind of person who you sit down and say, try to sit still and meditate for 2 minutes, and I go, and I'm tapping my feet, and I'm thinking about
the idea of it's boring, hey?
I can't, so like I'm talking about with this stuff, I can't, I'm just trying to find ways to exert energy, and my mind's always racing, so it's sort of, but I think it'd be really good for me, on the other side. So it's actually probably means more than ever as someone who, everyone says, you need to, this would be perfect for you. It'd probably be a really, my journey in life, I haven't found it yet.
I've got a good meditation for you then.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Stop before you start. I use this sometimes, but not much. The meditation, you go like this. That's it.
Nice. Yeah.
You're putting like a 1 second meditation. If you remember to get on that trip, all you do is like when you have one thought or you do one thing, you go, right, you do it, and then you go, stop. Okay, now I'm going to do the next thing. And so it's not a continuous mental stream, not one thought running into the other, but like you just have these little stops. So then it makes you more intentional with your thinking over time. Because I think what allows our mind to run us instead of us running our mind is that we let the mind go in a stream, like just keeps going. And then you sort of, the only trouble with that is, you're letting your mind run the show rather than you running the show and saying, mind, now come on, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. So those 1 second meditations, maybe that's because that doesn't sound boring, does it? 1 second.
Sounds incredibly efficient right down my alley,
That's cool, man. I had, what else I wanted to ask you? So you guys and Sam is very much like this as well. You're not addicted to your phones, are you?
No. If anything, this world has made us, really say goodbye to our phones a lot. We're really, I've never been massive on, social media or things like that. I've never been a real, really hooked on, on sort of, just the social media world or my phone or anything like that. I'm pretty. And especially recently, I love just trying to, as little as possible, trying to kind of stay away from it as much as we can.
And why is that?
I guess it's just due to just being, here's Soren. Hey, bro. How you doing, bro? That's all good. No, it's, I guess it's just due to, feeling like it takes over our lives all the time. I mean, it's like, right. I guess everyone goes through this, and it's sort of, I guess so in this world that we're in now, there's, I guess, okay, so I got to go back to back to the music sort of industry, and what is sort of expected of you in this industry is, it's not a 9-to-5 job. So you don't kind of, when you're not working all the time, you're not touring all the time. Sometimes you have time off, but there's this kind of machine that starts rolling. So once you have these kind of, major record labels that are doing things, you're trying to do a record, you're trying to, make decisions about touring. It's kind of like it takes over your entire life. So it doesn't stop. There's always questions. There's constantly things that are coming up, especially when you're in a band. We're kind of trying to, talk about all different decisions about everything, every little thing that needs to be a conversation about. So we do that through through our phones, through messages, like group messages that we have between each other. So if I was to have my, phone on all the time, like with alerts there, it dings every sort of 15 seconds or something like that. It makes it say, so you're constantly picking it up and doing stuff like this. So it's like, and then for your family, for your friends and family, so, my partner Hannah and, Sam's partner April and everyone in the band, Liam and Brendan's, all our families. It's like this is all-consuming thing all the time. So it's kind of like you're constantly hearing you got to make a decision about something. There's something to do with touring. There might be an interview. There might be there's it just takes over your entire life. So it's sort of, for me to, when you can put the phone away, is just to try to be present with your friends, with your, with your partner, me with Hannah. It's like, just actually be there in the moment and try to put your phone away for a little bit, because otherwise you're living through this thing constantly, which I'm sure, I don't think I was that articulate about that, but I'm sure hopefully that came through okay. But I think, everybody goes through it. I know, and it's not just a music thing. It's I'm sure in many industries, there's your job goes beyond your time at work. But for me, it really affects me. I just go like, when it's just never going to stop. This kind of thing. Like, you think you're going to get to a point where you say we're going to have a bit of a break and do this, but there's always seems to be something to be spoken about in the digital kind of realm. So now, since coming into this industry, I'm like, as much as I can, I try to, keep my phone away from me. And I guess people can't even. So I've been doing a lot of leather work recently, and so I've made this new leather case / wallet for my phone. Anyone who can see it on the screen cool. there. But the beauty of this is you put your phone in it.
Wow, this is really beautiful artistry,
cool,
man.
yeah.
Wow.
And it's but it's like
beautiful.
It's got some good little it's got some good wear to it. This one, doesn't it?
Wow.
I got to point out, I didn't make this. This is something I've been making leather work, but this one I've actually got. I've been so I'm working towards.
I'm glad
this
you
one.
Pointed that out.
Yeah, before we started saying, Josh's leather work right here. No, I've been making things like this, but this one not particularly. But what I love about this is it's I put my phone in here, and it's close at hand, but if I put that on the table, for anyone who can see that, you can't see the screen, you know what I mean? So it's a way of kind of going like, so in order to kind of get this out, it's like I have to make a conscious effort to take the phone out, spend 10 minutes getting back to everything that I'm expected to get back to, and then put it away for another hour, and then maybe an hour later I'll pull it out again, and and then get back to whatever thing is expected of me, and then at least have that. It might be whether you do it that way or something. If you're able to, unfortunately, in this world, I often can't leave it for really long periods at a time, because there's constantly some kind of decision that someone wants to have you get back to. Is what I'm
that's it. You just gave me a good idea. I was just thinking while you said that, maybe you could, with my stop before you start the idea, right? So, like, if it's really busy, right, and you're going to have to be on your phone all day, but you're also with your family and you've got a lot to do and blah, 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 then you say, right, I'm going to do this in, like, say, whatever amount of time, maybe 10-minute blocks. So on the hour, for 10 minutes, everybody understands I'm going to be on my phone. Absolutely. And I'm going to go into a room and give it my all. Before I get on my phone, I'm going to walk. Before I pick it up, I'm going to stop for 1 second and just meditate, just like, think nothing, have clear thoughts, nothing. 1 second. Pick it up, try and be really directed, never get sidetracked, never start scrolling, and sort of give myself a little every time I start scrolling. And then do your 10 minutes, put it down, have another stop, quick little meditate for that, like 1 second, and then you're on.
Absolutely, I think it's really important.
A good way of doing it.
I think it's a good system, and that's what we've been trying to practice. So,
what do you mean?
Me and my partner Hannah, that's what So that's what we've come up with a system. Not always like perfect at it, like literally like this. So we don't, not with the maybe the meditation is a new side to it, but like we're trying to say, like I'll just try to go, have this moment to rather be constantly distracted in your life and constantly say, okay, I'm gonna. I'm not always perfect at this either, but I'm actually what I'm trying to do is to say, okay, so for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to just get some of this stuff done, and then the phone's going to be away for a little while. And then,
but I'll give it my all. I won't be half talking to you while I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk to me while I'm doing.
And then, just get back to this, and we're, so we're trying to practice that,
that's cool.
In my relationship. So it's sort of, and I think it's a good system. It seems to work well.
That's great.
So anyone who was off the mic there, he's picking up a book that he's been reading and bringing it back.
This is a little book called Mind Hacking, and it's really cool. And this dude came up with a whole lot of good things about hacking your brain and making it work efficiently. But one of the main ones, or a big one, was turn off all notifications on your phone.
100%. God,
Because
yeah.
And I need to do that a bit more, because the thing is, you've got a train of thought, and then you get a notification, and then your train of thought is broken. And where we are as a species losing fucking concentration at the moment, it's supposed to be scientifically proven that we can't concentrate like we used to be able to, because we're used to having our attention interrupted all the time. But for your focus in life, and you're trying to meditate and do all these things so that you get more focus and more sovereignty over your own thoughts, so you can like think in a really directed way, and then ding, it throws you off.
And
so
then you're into the world of it, aren't you? Because then once you pick that up, then you're going, then you're in like phone world. And you're like, what's on going on over here? And then you're suddenly sucked into that, into that realm. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good one. Get rid of the notifications. And another one in that vein that I've been sort of looking into daily routines, and old mate sounds like a lord, that producer. It sounds really great, his morning routine. I want to really get into that as well, and have been doing a bit of a morning routine as well. But one thing is like I feel a compulsion. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's on that phone. But don't give your thoughts away to everybody else who's on your phone. When you wake up in the morning, have that time for yourself, and don't look at it straight away, because once you do, the spell's broken. You don't have that wonderful time to yourself to really think the way you want to think, even on the level of getting stuff done. Do what you think is important for the day. What is most important to you that day, get that done. If you just pick up the phone straight away, sometimes I wake up and I just pick up my phone. It's like you just gave...
We all do it, You
just gave your power to whoever emailed you or whoever texted you or whatever's on Instagram. And so you've just fragmented your brain. And then by doing that, it's just so inefficient. So I reckon even for getting stuff done and succeeding in the world, these things are really important.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's, we gotta, you gotta make a conscious effort to try to remove yourself from it as much as you can, which is, my manager's, listening to this going, I wish he'd just turn his notifications on.
I was thinking about that while I was saying too.
And the rest of the band going like, Jesus, get back to some of these things a bit quicker.
Yeah. And
but, hey man, we can't do that. So you just gotta, you gotta stay sane as well, so it's,
that's very
so for me, it drives me crazy, I think that, that's sort of like how much is expected of us on, and we were talking about this, me, you and Sam the other day as well, of how much it's like, it might have used to been rude to try to call someone after hours at about whatever hour at night. You'd be like, no, well, this is not a good time to be calling or trying to get some business done. Now, if you get a message at whatever time and then you don't get back to it for however long, that's considered rude. Doesn't matter what, because you haven't responded quick enough. Which is like, well, hold on, that's rude for you to expect me to get back to that quicker,
Yeah, we're being a bit of a hive mind. Yeah, everybody has to join in.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I've got a crazy mate who, this seems crazy. He has finally, Rasta, his name's Rasta, Dave Rastovich. Surfers would know him. He's a really good surfer and an environmentalist and a really original thinker. But he is hopeless at getting back to you because he just doesn't turn his phone on for ages. At one point, he didn't even have a phone. And it's like, wow, who could do that? That's so old school these days. How could you even do that?
That's cool, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people still do it. It's amazing, And but any friends of mine who are listening to this, I guess will vouch for me that I now have a reputation that it's just. If I don't get back to people kind of just know it's me. It's kind of cool. Like, so especially with friends, it's sort of, I mean, I might be totally like, some people tell me this actually hate me. Like, fucking Josh never ever gets back to us. But I have a reputation of just being like, if, Josh doesn't get back to us, it's like, he's just it's just him. He just always, might be weeks later or something, it's just, I'm classic like that. I just don't I'm not really, I'm just not that responsive on things, so on my phone. And I think hopefully people sort of have an acceptance around that, and that's sort of, it's just they don't see it as rude. It's just sort of, it's just the way I am, and the way I've kind of choose to be on the phone.
So, would you say that you're not ambitious career-wise?
Not ambitious. Hard one. I'm really content. I think I'm really content. I think if I could keep, if we've got to a point where musically where I never ever imagined we could have got. I never thought I'd sort of be at this stage now where we could be playing to this amount of people, touring around the world, and playing at these festivals around the world. You could stop right here at this point, and I could even take a couple of steps back and do a little bit of a little bit of a little bit of touring, a little bit of working back here, and just find a happy medium of my two lives, and I would be completely content. You know what I mean? No more is required.
So honestly, because I normally, getting to know you better, I believe you, but normally I would find that hard to believe. But would you actually, if you could wave a magic wand and just have everything just tweaked perfectly, you would actually, I'm sure you wouldn't take back any level of ass kickery, like kicking ass, but you'd be back plumbing every now and again and mixing.
100%. I'll never stop. You know what I mean? I will keep that. I'll keep that side of my work always going.
Wow.
Whether it be working on my own place, if I'm out here where we are here in Warrandyte, if I'm not working on someone else's place, I'll be here doing things. There's always a project to do. There's always something to build, and I love it. That's what I do. The funny thing about when we go with a big group of my friends, when we go camping, or when we've sort of set up, little festivals over the years for all the friends, we go away, we go camping, and we build stuff, because that's what we love doing. It's like, so you find yourself with your time off, it's, it's building, and it's working with your tools, and it's working with your craft. So that's, it's my love. It's not like work stuff. I mean, I'll always do that, so if I can find a way to keep that, that side of my brain working and do music, I'll always do that no matter what,
Wow, man. That's
interesting.
So
people like say, so you're giving up plumbing now? I was like, nah, don't want to,
Well, that's a very fortunate way to be, because you can take or leave. You're in the box seat to get more and more success musically, because you can take or leave it. So you're not grasping at, it seems to me like you never have been grasping at success, like, oh, I got to make it, I want it.
No, never. It's sort of...
I mean, it helps just being one of the best vocalists ever to come out of Australia.
Well, don't know about that.
Oh, that's very true. That's my opinion. I wanted to put that on here, man, as a blues and roots player for a very long time and known for my voice. I've just got the highest respect for you and your vocals, man. I just think, you're one of the best to ever come out of here. So I wanted to say that on here.
No, thanks, Ash. And it's funny because I'm just really, just a belter, really, aren't we? We both, I love screaming. I've done that since I was a kid. Just getting that sound and just kind of that raspy kind of edge of your voice that I think we both love. As we've learned, is just kind of and even with the levels that come into mics, we were talking about that. Even when it's like way over peaked, it's just like that where things are peaking, and it's it's the music I love. It's the sound I love.
Well, what I love about life is to be a lifelong learner, and when we've been jamming together, I've loved it. Because I've learned a lot about my craft of singing, and it's just been so sick. And I've loved how now I'm going to get vocal nerdy for just a minute for people, but I've really loved how all of the effort and everything and the technique that you put into being loud, I noticed that you use that technique to be quiet too. And that's what makes your voice soulful throughout the range. Whereas, say for me, for example, when I'm singing quiet, it's almost half-hearted. I don't sing quiet that often. I'd like to do it more.
And to point out for anyone who's in the room with Ash when he sings, he's got one of those voices that it comes out and it is, really powerful. That's one of those. I guess it's what a lot of what you've done for many years. But it's this, there's a projection, there's a resonance, there's a volume that just like, wow, you're in the room there. But we've been talking a lot about being able to get your same sound on a quiet level as well.
Volume,
and we're really similar like that. I'm the same as Ash, you know. I'm trying to learn the same thing of trying to be able to, you know, sing in quieter tones and save my voice and hold on to your tone as well. It's like, you know, without being able to, without, you know, just belting, which is an incredible thing to be able to do as well, you know.
So, like, for anybody listening or watching this here, say they love, you know, they're a blues and roots player or they just love singing. We've been nerding out on some vocal techniques, some good ways of saving your voice and whole different vocal exercises, whatever. What would be the main thing that you would say to people for singing in our genre of music? A good exercise they could do or anything, a tip?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so anyone who's seen us live, you've seen that I go to town on my voice. I feel like I take it to hell and back all the time, every night, you know. And we do tours where we go, you know, we're doing this, you know, normally sort of 5 nights in a row, maybe 3 to 5 nights in a row, maybe a day off, and then doing it again. So you might do that for like 4 weeks. So it's kind of, as a singer, and a lot of singers will, you know, be able to relate with me on this. It's, you know, it's a constant battle, you know, trying to look after your voice and this fear when you have all these shows lined up that you're going to lose your voice for the following night. It's terrifying. I have a constant anxiety about it, you know, because I'm kind of like, you know, yeah, you know, everything you do, you live for that next gig, and then it's like, and, you know, even talking after the show, everything's about like, I'm scared I'm going to lose my voice for the following night. So my routine is basically warming up and warming down, you know, looking up, you know, a lot of people can do this stuff online, finding this stuff, but, you know, I've had some great teachers around Melbourne that have taught me some really cool exercises just to kind of, you know, just to warm up your voice and just to warm down your voice after the show, which is a really strange one. I wasn't doing that for many years, you know.
People? I know.
We've been doing a lot of straws, but it's, you know, we've been doing a thing with a straw, singing through a straw, which is kind of weird. A lot of people like see me at, you know.
We did one when we were jamming, and I loved that.
But it's basically it's too hard to explain in a,
too
you know,
technical.
without sort of getting into it. But, you know, you can look up on YouTube. You can go like warm downs, and there's a million different techniques. But it's basically taking your vocal cords from, you know, from being, there's going to be these like music nerds out there that are like, you know, like, oh my God, it's like, wow, he's just totally, you know, butchered that technique. But it's basically, you know, taking your vocal cords from, you know, from your singing stage to your, you know, from when they're all, you know, sort of, you know, loose and sort of stretched out to then going into your talking voice, which is a much more rigid sort of different time. So it's like that when you go from just singing to then going to talking, that's always been my biggest killer. So that's the biggest moment when I come straight up. When I come straight up the stage, and then I come out and I start talking to people. Bam! That's like so what the warm downs are for is to then go warm down your voice to then go to be able to speak again. You know, so it's kind of like so get back into your kind of like speaking zone. You know, so it's sort of. That's the way I've been explained it anyway. And that seems to be really helping for me, you know, so doing warm downs has kind of really got me to that kind of place. And for a singer like me, the hardest thing has been to, well, as we've been talking about, not sing as loudly. So like kind of I've been getting a little bit, I've always been a real believer in, you know, as a band, we've been very harsh on ourselves with foldback, trying to have a really good room sound so we don't do a lot of foldback at all. And we've always tried to be like, really, I don't need much fallback. I can do it without. It's all good. But I'm starting to treat myself a little bit more, give myself a little bit more vocals in my fallback, so I'm seeming like I'm louder. And not, you know, screaming. So trying to find ways that I can kind of like get my same tones, but doing it at a slightly lesser kind of volume. And using this whole PA system that is in front of us, you know, to get your sound. So not like kind of, and not sort of. It's hard because you feel like you want to give 100% every show, and part of that is like just, you know, going for it 100%. But you can still go for it, and I try to kind of just not be not have my internal vocal amp turned up to 11 for the entire gig. You know, sort of just have it down, sitting at a point where it's, you know, a happy medium and get through every show. So that's been hard for me to kind of find that, you know, that's really helped. It's kind of, you know, getting the getting the volumes down, warming up, warming down. Then there's a whole world that we've been talking about of just positioning your body right as well. So having your neck straight, having everything aligned, and sort of sitting, even setting up your mic in the right way, as you have my mic down too low and you're mucking up. So really getting in the right position for the whole gig.
What I was trying to get from you, but that was very interesting, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting for people. And I actually learnt something because I've never done a warm down in my life, and very rarely done a warm up either. But
and some people don't need to. As I can point out, Ash has been doing this for how many years? And you barely ever lose your voice. So you're obviously doing something right. So I'm doing a fair few naughty things with my voice. So that's kind of,
I can hear in your voice, which is one of, but not the only best things about your voice, is that you've got that husky edge on it. And I wonder, are we hearing every time we hear you sing? Are we hearing you wreck your voice a little bit, or have you worked out a way to do it that isn't wrecking it a bit?
I don't know. That's the big question. That's
it's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I've always thought about that. And I've always thought to myself that I'm putting it under a lot of strain, and will I be able to do this forever? And is this kind of like, for how much pressure I put on it? Is this am I constantly wrecking it? And I'm like, or am I constantly damaging it in some way? So when I always had in my head that I'd have some. I went in for my first kind of like vocal checkup like a little while ago, where they put like a camera down your throat, like your vocal cords, and they have a bit of a look.
I'd be scared to do that.
Because before I did some some vocal coaching with a really great vocal coach to sort of work on some techniques and stuff, and some he wanted to see that I didn't have any existing damage, so like nodules or things like that we're kind of trying to we need to know about. Yeah. So know that we got like a clean slate before we can kind of get working. And I always thought to myself like, man, I'd have nodules for sure. I'll have something. There's got to be something wrong. Like I've been singing like this for like 15 years or something like that. Since I was a teenager, just like screaming in this way and doing this every weekend. Surely I've made some damage. And going in and then coming out and then having getting the camera down, getting to see your vocal cords on camera is amazing. So I recommend anyone ever doing it. It's pretty incredible to see how these things work. And then them saying, "No, you have just a totally healthy vocal cords, nothing wrong, everything's all good." Wow. They're a little bit swollen, is what they say. As they say, like so after, which is basically, after any big run, if you're using them a lot, they end up a little bit swollen. Which is nothing wrong with that, as far as I know. But so apparently, so far, I haven't done any damage to this voice of mine. So I hope that it just means that I've somehow found a technique that is allowing me to continue to do it, and I'm going to be able to sustain that, for my whole life. I hope,
Wow. So maybe that's what like Barnsey has always sounded like. He's put his voicing on the workbench, just smashing it with a hammer.
Never warmed down, and he's never had nodules. Never, just incredible.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. You're just hearing somebody who's found a technique of getting that really cool distortion without killing them. And it probably makes sense because, like, the actual sound when you're singing on your throat, which I reckon just recently, I've probably pulled out of this now, but I just started to do it, like last year. I reckon I was singing on my throat. I started hurting my throat when I was singing. And it's not a good sound. It's a choked up kind of sound. And you don't have that. You just have the distortion somehow. So.
Yeah, well, when I do lose it, though, I just lose all range. So it does happen. So once it kind of like, if I'm actually losing my voice, it's sort of, there's a point where it's a good sound, and then there's a point where it kind of, it's, you're just losing notes. So it's really disappointing when that happens. And it's sort of, that's the thing that you don't want to have. And I think it's got to be bad to be losing your voice all the time. So I think as long as you're doing what you're doing and you're not losing your voice, so part of my kind of routine has been allowing me to play night after night and at no point really losing your voice, There's like maybe a little bit swollen, but, I think that point, that's a pretty healthy kind of routine. But if you're losing your voice and then recovering and then doing it again, I think that can't be good.
It's got to be bad, yeah.
Hopefully, any vocal coaches or people that are hearing what I'm saying and just go like, you got no idea what you're talking about. Just call me, email me, that'd be great. Just like, I would love to hear anyone's responses on that. But but I'm learning. I'm still learning about it, and so it's a constant battle, but it's a
fascinating world. Yeah, it's a fascinating world. Well, I'm loving it, and yeah, it's been good, man. I want to thank you for having a jam with me, and
absolutely, it's been great.
That thing on
amazing.
Yeah, it has been fun, and we were the way this all started is we were the Teskey Brothers were on my single "Ain't My Problem Anymore," and I came down with Josh and got him to be in the film clip, and then we ended up jamming, and then we put it on Instagram and Facebook, and we done blew up.
Yeah,
we blew up on social media.
Viral.
Well, that's it. We went viral. That's the word.
We
went viral.
Yeah.
So check that out if you want to see a little bit of that.
We basically just did a whole bunch more of that. They just sort of hanging around here. So we've just been playing some blues. So it was really Ash playing guitar, and we're singing some blues, and we're kind of
Actually, I'm seeing on this counter. Wait a minute. Let me grab a guitar. Just sing.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that, can't we? Absolutely. Yeah, I got some harmonicas here.
Yeah, people. We'll try and finish out this hour. We'll get this on one podcast, I reckon. I think it's A.
There we go.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Where's that slide?
Hey, we should do that one. Is it? We do that one of yours?
Yeah, okay.
Is that can we do that?
Yeah, here's a little song that I wrote last week.
We've been sitting here writing songs, and
we've been writing songs.
This is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't remember how I was playing the riff.
I'll take the first verse, because I remember that one.
Oh, shit.
Low down door, you had me howling at your door.
That's the riff.
Low down door, you had me howling at your door. Yeah, yeah. When I peeked through your window, you had me lying on the floor, yeah.
Every time I try to talk to you, you know it end up in a fight. Every time I try to talk to you, you know it end up in a fight. Just 'cause it ain't easy doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Oh. Yeah.
Another verse.
You do the next. But I'm sorry
anyway. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I ain't gonna apologize.
But I'm sorry just the same. Ever met you, babe, that I ever knew your name. I ever knew that I ever knew you, baby. Yeah, but I never knew your name. Yeah, ooh. Yeah, brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, bro. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Ash. Thank you.
Thanks for everything, and thanks for, being on Soulful Conversations.
A lot of fun, man. Plenty more times. We'll do it.
Wow, I'm just chucking this together up in my studio in northern New South Wales, and I was just listening to the podcast, and I totally forgot we did that jam at the end. And geez, Josh is just such an amazing singer, and it really was a great experience that we had jamming together, and really great recording an edition of Soulful Conversations together. What a lord. What a lord. That was really cool. So I hope you really enjoyed that, and some really original perspectives on life. And that's really what it's all about here at Soulful Conversations. You know, I really love the idea of grabbing these musos, and you can hear in these conversations that we have a shared history, and, we, get along like a house on fire, and it just enables me to have these chats that are just a little bit closer than a boring old interview. And that's just what I love so much about the podcast format. And you could really get your head around some original ways that some people think. And I think Josh is really an original. He's a very positive, artistic, but earthy individual, and I think there's a lot we can learn from him. So thanks so much for being with us on this journey, and don't forget to keep giving us heaps of feedback on socials. And if you really like what you're hearing here, and if you learn anything in particular in any of our episodes, please take a screenshot and quote what you heard from these great people that I've been lucky enough to get on Soulful Conversations. And don't forget to use that promo code on Earth Bottles and my merch store if you're into that. Ash loves me. And get 10% off. And otherwise, we'll just see you next time. Thank you so much.
I know you sharp, baby. You're sharp as a knife. I have one piece of your loving, but can you cut me off almost nice? You're still running, running, running. Yeah, you running, running.